There's no way I actually tried this. In today's video, we're trying to survive 100 days in Valheim, which is a brutal world filled with terrifying creatures out to kill us. The goals of the video are to defeat all 5 of the bosses, make a raid-proof base, and use my friends as human meat shields to make it to day 100. Say what now? Because this game makes it really easy to get your shit rocked. Also, if you can hit that subscribe button, because these videos aren't easy to make, that'd mean the world to me. Finally, smack that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's get straight into day 1. We spawn into the world, and the first thing I see is this gigantic bird. They're not letting go of me. Attachment issues much? A little bit. But once we finally land, we get attacked by this little grayling. Little menace to society. He got clapped. I mainly just went around collecting a bit of resources. It didn't take very long until I realized it was really lonely. So that's when I called in the backup. This is my friend HDBUN. She sucks at this game. But now that there was 2 of us, we basically got straight to work. I got attacked by a tree, and then another tree that took out half of my health, and I got really worried. It was really easy to die in this, huh? I don't know how I'm gonna make it to day 100. Plus, added to that, we only have 25 health to begin with. But if you eat some food, that'll increase our health overall. Temporary, but it's a start. While we were looking around the main biome, the plains biome, we found 3 structures. This is the first one, this is the second one, and the third one, I got attacked by bees. They don't like me very much. I was just taking a look around. And then what I ended up witnessing is HDBUN beating the life out of a grayling. Abusive. But eventually, after a bunch of exploring, we find a place to live. Around that same area, we also find a relic with some funky text on it. Placed on a campfire, and we basically sat out the night because we didn't have beds. I think there were beds in this game. Days 2 to 5. I had to really quickly go AFK to grab some food, but then a shaman almost snuck up on me and killed me. What's a shaman, you might be asking? Think of it like an advanced grayling, but they could use magical powers. And they like poison you. Real nuisances for this challenge. Shortly afterwards, 2 more people joined. AmongUsPlayer and your dad. I know the usernames are a little questionable, but stick with me here. The main things we were working on was collecting a bunch of wood so we could actually make a base. It's one of the goals that we had, and I kind of wanted to work on that. So we got to chopping down a bunch of trees. The reason I picked this spot was because there were 5 rocks. I wanted the base to be a bit of a circle shape. Don't ask why, because I got no clue. It was literally an on-the-spot decision. We also needed a few more things because I then went ahead and made myself a bow, collected a bunch of arrows, and got some leather armor. Arrows were basically made out of wood, and you just make them in the crafting table. The leather armor, on the other hand, required deer hide, which meant we had to go hunt. That's where the bow and arrow came in handy. I feel like Katniss from the Hunger Games. Days 7 to 10. One thing that we needed to do was prepare for the first boss out of 5. Their name was Aether. In preparation, we needed a bunch of food, which meant we have to continuously hunt. It took us longer because there were more people, but we just started the world, and there are plenty of things to go around, from the boars to the deers, and even these things called necks. Why are these things called necks? I don't even know. They're like little lizard people. Finally, after collecting everything that we needed, we were ready to summon the boss. But we also needed to find the altar, aka the place you used to summon the boss in the first place. We needed a total of 3 deer heads to actually summon the thing. Luckily, we already had a bunch of those. This is also the relic to actually locate where the altar is. And once we were all prepared, we then summoned the boss, Aether, the lightning thief. Oh my gosh. Thing about this is it had a bit of a ranged attack, and it, obviously had lightning abilities. On my end, I wasn't allowed to die, but my friends on the other hand, they're meat shields. They're allowed to die however many times that they want to. So it was actually AmongUsPlayer that took most of these hits. For the rest of us, we were on archer duty. Luckily, this is only the first boss. Think of it as like a little tutorial boss. It didn't have a lot of health. And finally, it was dead. Antler pickaxe, let's go. Aether in specific actually drops what we need to make our first pickaxe. Yeah, it's pretty much gatekept until you've beat the first boss. And it's the first step from leaving the Stone Age. We didn't think we'd have these wax stone tools forever, right? Another thing we get is their head, aka a trophy. Now, they're not just for cosmetic. If you go back to the spot that we spawned in, we could place it and activate it for some sort of magical boost. For Aether's boost in specific, it lets running and jumping use up less stamina. Stamina is really important because to attack, to mine, to do anything in this game, you need that stuff. Days 10 to 15. So far, the only area we've explored is the plains biome. The place we need to head into is this thing called the Black Forest. Let me tell you, this place is dangerous. Remember those pesky little graylings? Now we gotta deal with these things called gray dwarfs, and they usually stay in packs. Things like the shaman, the gray dwarf brutes, and even these things called trolls spawn in this biome, so it's not a place you should be going unprepared, especially if you're trying to survive 100 days. Shortly afterwards, I then crafted up the pickaxe that I was talking about earlier, then found ourselves some copper. I didn't get this thing for some lousy rocks, and we started mining some of that stuff. Then lo and behold, the troll I was just talking about started chasing us. We shot it down though. Now this troll wasn't the problem. No, the second troll was the actual problem, because it was that very second troll that was chasing HDBUN, and then she came to our base. And I'm telling you right now, the troll had no remorse. In the base. It's like tall enough so it'll forget about it. See? Holy shit. About that.
I'm gonna die. I was protecting Adrian and then I got clapped because of doing so. so.
That troll demolished like 3 of our walls, destroyed all of our chests. That thing was crazy. Worst of all, AmongUsPlayer, the person that basically does most of the fighting in the first place, was AFK. You see that hut? Yeah, he was in there during this entire duration. And somehow he managed to survive despite the troll being right next to him trying to even get to him. Anyways, we showed that troll who was boss and started on the repairs. One of the goals of ours was also to make a strong enough base to survive raids, and what raids basically are just a bunch of mobs coming to our own base and attacking us. Each time we kill another boss, the raids get harder, and that's basically why we gotta keep upgrading our base. Then we had some shaman infested nights. I also managed to steal HDBUN's armor and cape when she wasn't looking. It's troll armor, by the way. This stuff's good. Don't tell her I did that though, because she thinks she lost it. We explored a bit more of that black forest, and we found these things called burial chambers. They are infested with skeletons, but the good part is there's a bunch of treasure in there that we can sell for coins later. The main thing we needed were these things called sterling cores, because without sterling cores we can't make a furnace, a kiln to make coal, nothing, none of that stuff. So this stuff was crucial to get. As you can see, we had a lot of deaths. I was just playing it safe and kept my distance, and this was me almost dying to a 2-star skeleton. The more stars they have, the more dangerous they are, and the more health that they have, so we gotta avoid them at all costs. We continued to build the base. I also made a second wall because I kind of wanted the base to replicate Attack on Titan. Then I made this thing called a fire escape. In case the main base ever got infiltrated, we could hop into the second base and dip. AmongUsPlayer, while I was doing all of this stuff, got us some more sterling cores. Another useful thing we could do with these sterling cores is make portals. That makes transporting stuff and transportation as a whole get a lot easier. Days 16 to 20. The first thing I did was I made a portal, and I named it Portal. I also found out we can't actually take ores such as copper or tin through portals, which kind of sucks. We need a lot of both of those ores to make bronze, because the Bronze Age was the next age past the Stone Age. A lot of these nights were filled with AmongUsPlayer being chased by huge swarms of shaman and grey dwarfs. Not very fun, but the grey dwarf eyes also went into making some of these portals, so I mean, it's a win-win in my books. Then my pizza order came, so I went to go get that. It seemed that I really liked using my bow, so I then went to go upgrade my bow into the next stage as well, making a fine wood bow. Shortly afterwards, we then found another relic that showed us where the second boss was, and this boss is called the Elder. It's a tree-based boss, so I thought of something brilliant. I'll make 2 portals, one at the home base and then another one that leads to the boss battle. Easy transport. On my way over to the location on the map to where the Elder would basically be spawned, we found this thing called the Merchant and a scary looking pet. Don't look at me with all that bloodlust. Keeping an eye on you. I don't know about much of the other stuff that could be bought from this guy, but the one thing I do need is an inventory extension. There's a weight limit to how much you can actually carry, and this guy has an item that'll let us increase that, and a miner's helmet that always glows in front of you, so it just helps with seeing things. That's something we get later. I decided to put the portal here and make another 2 portals for the actual Elder. Finally, after a long journey, I made it to the Elder. Days 21 to 25. I needed all the troops, aka the reinforcements. Fine, it's just AmongUsPlayer, HDBUN, and your dad, but they're what I have. Call them Team Meat Shields. Definitely got their permission to call them that. 100%. Prior to fighting the Elder, we definitely needed a bunch of food. I called it the Great Famine, but we really don't have any negative effects besides low health when we don't have food. That's what your dad focused on. AmongUsPlayer went to go get a bunch of tin so we can make some bronze stuff, and it became really foggy. It looked kind of cool, so I added it in. We also made a bunch of fire arrows for the boss since it is made out of wood, so burning down a tree, that's kind of the best way to go about it, I hope. And we all gathered up and fought the Elder. The item we needed to actually summon this guy was these things called ancient seeds. They drop from spawners.
It's on fire.
Even the roots do damage. What the fuck? What the
That's
fuck?
what I'm saying.
I died. Bro, I got surrounded because there was a pillar left of me and boxes in front of me.
I instantly died.
And the roots were behind me.
So
It said it unconnected, the portal to...
I think you got destroyed.
I can't get back in.
Oh my god, Adrian, this might be it, bro.
We greatly underestimated how difficult this boss would actually be like, because everybody died except for me. It was up to me. Now you're probably thinking, can't they just respawn and come back through the portal? He broke the freaking portal. Day 25, I ran for my fucking life all day. Jesus. Now you know what? I got this. I got this.
I believe in you.
There's a...
Bro, the roots. Okay.
It might take a hot minute.
I had to distract it long enough to let it hit trees so I could get wood for a crafting table. And afterwards, I had to move him because he was camping the portal remains. I still needed to pick up the stuff from it. But after literally just running around in circles for like a good 20 minutes or something, finally managed to gather everything. Place on a crafting table, place the portal, name it Portal 2, and get everyone back to the boss fight safe and sound. That part's a joke. They died like a bunch of times. Okay, I made it. Wait a bit.
That's too late.
Ow, ow, ow. What the?
Distracted it, but it killed me right after.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm almost dead. Holy
Run.
shit, I'm out of here, bruh.
Yeah,
I
leave
am.
it to us for now.
Ouch,
It's on
bro.
me. It's on me.
Oh,
It's on me.
there's 2 skeletons on me. Holy, bro. I got down to 18 HP.
Bro.
It reminds me of Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Why? Why is there a Draugr here?
Dogger coming after me. Okay,
Sweet.
good.
Nice.
Holy shit.
Oh, shoot, with an arrow.
Oh my gosh. And this one actually had a bunch of health, so it took quite a while and a bunch of arrows. But then it was dead. The Elder no more. One of the things this guy dropped were actually keys. We need that. And obviously it's trophy, but this trophy kind of sucks. First one's way better than this because this one only lets us mine wood faster. Then right near the end of the fight, a Draugr pulled up and chased me. Almost killed me too.
I'll get the Draugr. Watch for the Draugr. Watch for the Draugr.
But luckily, nothing went wrong.
I'm dead.
For me. I can't say that about the others. Days 26 to 30. Now, one of the things that the homeboy Elder dropped was a key. This key basically lets us go into swamp dungeons, the next biome. Remember that Draugr that almost annihilated me? Yeah, that's part of the swamp. And then those leeches that basically started biting my toes, those are also from the swamp. Not a place you want to be. They are much stronger than the gray dwarfs. We got jumped by some shaman.
The brute staggered its attack twice and then hit me on the third.
Oh, got it.
The grayling was really behind you.
Don't bring the fire to my house.
It's not gonna burn. It's not gonna burn.
Why is there so many fires in my house?
What do you mean?
There's Adrian.
Why?
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Like fire pits?
No, no, no. Come in my house.
Why?
Everybody come in my house.
Oh my
real
gosh,
quick.
sleepover.
Why?
Oh, shit. Wait,
Matt,
Matt.
just come to my house.
That's a lot of fire.
Listen,
That's a lot of fires.
Bro.
Also went to go mine some copper.
Adrian, did you not attack any of these guys?
No. Now, after a bunch of grinding, I can finally craft myself a bronze pickaxe. This thing required 10 bronze. That's ridiculous. We took a bit of a break. On day 27, we popped back down the world. Carla actually died and lost all of her stuff, so she's back to square one. Told you she was bad at the game. We got raided by Draugrs and skeletons. See, that's what happens when you kill another boss. It gets even harder. So I saw the Reaper or something. I don't really know. Early afterwards, he just vanished like it was nothing. We took a trip to the swamp. I definitely didn't want to go in alone. We entered the dungeon that the key actually opens, and these are called sunken crypts. Obviously better tiered loot, and we get iron from this place. This basically leads us onto the Iron Age. One of the issues we found was there was actually an archer shooting through the rocks. Not just any archer, a Draugr archer. Look at how much damage that thing does. We had to be careful. We decided to make a portal on top. That way, if HDBUN dies, she has an instant way back. And that's exactly what we do. Days 30 to 35. Tell her, I'm screaming that I might die. I'm bleeding out.
Adrian's bleeding out. He's screaming in pain. He's gonna die without you. Literally, I can hear the blood from him falling.
Blah.
He just said bleh.
Remember those 2 things I wanted from the merchant? One was to basically increase our inventory, and the second was to get a flashlight on our head, the mining helmet. For this, we needed a bunch of coins, and we could sell things like rubies, amber, anything we find in dungeons, really. So we went dungeon hunting, or raiding, I don't know.
Let me out. I don't know where. I can't even see where I am.
Alongside this, I also gathered a bunch of food, looted a bunch of structures, jumped gangs of grey dwarfs, cause why the heck not? I was feeling powerful, you know? After exploring, we also found the next biome that we had to explore, which was called the Plains biome. And I kind of ran away from it because I did not have any backup and I was not gonna go into a new biome without any help. Soon we will though. Another thing we needed was these things called withered bones. We need about 10 of them to summon the next boss called the Bone Mass. Another issue with this boss, just like a lot of things in the stupid swamp of ours, poison us a lot. Like a lot. So we're gonna need to make some poison potions using this thing called the fermenter. Days 36 to 40. Matt and Tiff found another dungeon and basically brought all the iron back using this thing called a cart. Because again, they can't go through portals, which makes it really difficult to bring back to our base, where we can smelt it. They also explored a bit of the plains biome. Leeches were all over the place. There was also a bit of guck on the tree here. And then we got jumped by some Draugrs, chased by raid. And although all of these things could be a problem, the biggest concern of it all was the abomination. Oh my gosh. It's on me. I fumbled. I missed. Yeah, that thing. I can't lie to y'all, this thing is kind of creepy looking, and it sounds really creepy too. But I was not approaching that thing. I didn't even have enough flame arrows for it in the first place. Got me messed up if you think I'm gonna approach it. Only if I had to. Most of this time was spent exploring the swamp and finding locations for dungeons and running for my life. Days 40 to 50. Decided to bunch the days a little bit more because a lot of it was just grinding at the end of the day. The main thing we decided to do was prepare some potions in the fermenter to prepare for the bone mass fight. Sadly, potions take about 2 to 3 in-game days to even make in the first place, but we needed a bunch of healing meads, which in simple terms are just health regeneration potions. There was a loop in place for this situation. I would make the mead, then go out to collect more resources to make even more meads. I think the difficult part was the fact that I had to make more than enough for one person. Days 50 to 60. What we ended up making is this thing called an iron mace. I didn't make it for no reason. The thing about the iron mace is that it's super effective against bone mass. I don't know why, but it is. You can check the wiki if you want. But alongside that, with some spare iron that I had, I also ended up making myself an iron shield. This was used to parry. Now I'm saying this at this time, now knowing what parrying actually is, but at that moment I didn't actually know what that was. There we go. Looking nice. Sadly for this fight, arrows are useless. They do like no damage to bone mass. After a long journey making it all the way up to bone mass's spawn location, we ended up going on top of the altar's head. It's actually OP up here, you know that? Because what ended up happening is there was an abomination right next to the place. It was gatekeeping. So y'all know what we had to do. We shot him up with guns, with bows. The process of this took so long, it ended up becoming nighttime, but he still got clapped. So one thing we actually had to do for this next boss fight was simply just flatten the area a little bit, because there's a bunch of water there and leeches could spawn in it. We don't really want to mess with that type of stuff, especially if we're mid-boss fight. We don't really want anything else, you know, butting in like the last fight. During all of this, we also ended up brewing a bunch of poison potions. It's a very similar process to the healing meads as well. After a whole bunch of dungeon hopping to prepare for the bite. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I am so low. I was not paying attention to my health. Almost died to a Draugr archer. We managed to defeat it and explore the crypt. We got a bunch of withered bones from all the areas around. On my way back home, we ended up in the plains biome where I found some strange structure. I also almost got clapped by one of these guys, but let's not talk about that. No, seriously, don't mention it. What we did end up finding is this thing called a fulling totem. I kind of risked my life to get this thing. It's not my fault no one was on at the time. Funny enough, this is actually an item that we need to summon the 5th boss of this challenge. If we even get that far, of course. Then I went straight home. We got everyone an iron mace, an iron shield, and a hefty amount of food and potions. Sadly, AmongUsPlayer and your dad had to get off because it was 1 in the morning. So you know me. Your boy ended up thinking of a really bad idea. It was god awful. I do not recommend anyone do this if you have the option to get the help of your friends. And the bad idea was fighting bone mass solo. Okay, I got confident. It's okay though. I did my research on the wiki, alright? I know everything there is to know about it. That's all I need, right? The first 2 bosses, although I had help, I thought I could solo them pretty easily. Then I got raided by a swamp. Afterwards, it took 10 withered bones to summon him, and the altar also looked pretty creepy too. And there he was. He kind of looks like a Pokemon. Okay, cool. Block I wanted to do didn't work. It still hit. Anyways, I gravely underestimated how difficult this fight would actually be. I mean, to be fair, most of it was just playing Ring Around the Rosie around the skull. But yo, if the strategy works, it works. You know what I mean? Call it cheap all you want. Oh my gosh. 1 hit. 2 hit. Okay. What the heck? 4 freaking skeletons. I think it gets harder like the farther you go into the fight. Oh my god. Where's the wishbone? Here it is. There we go. And then finally, after a dreadful amount of time, bone mass was killed. I got this funky looking thing called a wishbone. I didn't even know that thing even had bones. It just looked like a glob. Days 60 to 70. We placed a trophy head of bone mass into the altar and gave another clap set of effects. So we're sticking with Eikthyr on this one, boys. The next boss we had to face was actually a dragon in the snowy mountain biome. Judging from how difficult bone mass was and, you know, how big of a mistake it was killing that thing alone, we're definitely gonna need some meat shields for this one. And some frost resistance potions, which are pretty easy to make as well. Made a bunch of fire arrows, and the frost resistance potions were done cooking. Then we ended up hunting for some wolves and dragons. And we found dragons. Bink. Let's go. Dragon egg? What the heck? 200 weight. Why is it so heavy? Something I didn't really expect to find was this egg. Plus, it was a really heavy egg. It takes up 200 of our weight. We can only hold 450. That's freaking ridiculous. And then we ended up finding a second egg. And what made things even worse is they couldn't even be taken through portal, which kind of sucks. To carry around 400 pounds of freaking eggs. As if things couldn't get any worse, we then got attacked by a golem. Like, it just sprung out of the ground like it's nothing. Oh my gosh. Then I got bit by a wolf. There's some more dragons, but that's not actually what they're called, but that's basically what they are. They're called drakes, but you know, that's just a wrapper. And I feel like it would get kind of confusing, so I'm just gonna call them dragons, okay? I also wanted a hand in making a base in the snowy mountains, so hi. This is my friend George. Now don't take her lightly. This player right here, she specialized in combat and cooking since the early ages of 11. And so the base was complete with a whole defensive system. We also ended up finding this thing called the ice cave. So we entered it, and it ended up being a dungeon. Not just any dungeon that we've found so far yet.
Ooh,
Ancient cave, right?
ancient blood. I'm for real this time. I'm for real. What is that?
It's a dog. This dungeon actually had bats that would attack us. There was also crystals and a race in here known as werewolves. That's not actually what they're called. I honestly forgot. Sorry. And this is me annihilating their civilization with a bow and arrow. Though I feel like if not for these stairs, I'd have been dead hand-to-hand combat. But you know what? That's minor details. Nobody asked me for all that. We also found the location of Motor, the dragon I was talking about. The boss here also ended up finding another egg. Interestingly enough, we only needed 3 of these to summon the boss in the first place. What are you doing? Then I wanted to pick a fight with the golem and I mined his face off.
Oh, it broke the fall.
Take that, you stupid hunk of rocks. No, I'm not kidding, by the way. We literally just started mining his face off. It's crazy how that's one of the most efficient ways of killing this thing. And we also went silver hunting. It was a little confusing at first, but we finally found ourselves some silver and started mining it. Also got jumped by a werewolf, but you know, we made it out alive somehow. Days 70 to 80. We went exploring in the plains biome, attacked by a goblin village with death mosquitoes. I also ran for basically my life. Another village. Didn't really quite go too well and I had to dip either way, but we ended up finding a tar pool with these gross tar slimes. But now we can make a jacuzzi with this stuff. Yeah, you heard me right. You already know what my priority is now. It literally didn't get much better than this. We also ended up smelting a bunch of the silver. This will let us make the new armor set, bow, and weapons to prepare for the mortar fight. And remember, this fight is substantially stronger than the last fight we had, which was bone mass. I was not taking my chances. This dragon's going down. It's a little random, but here's a clip of your dad finding out that I just stuffed random stuff in my chest, and she decided to fix it up for some reason.
I'm just reorganizing everything, and plus they're everywhere. They take up so much room.
I literally just thought it was funny because it annoyed her. But time for some major upgrades. I ended up making this thing called the Draugr Fang. This thing's made out of silver. With this, I also ended up making an iron sword, because apparently according to the wiki, this is one of the most obtainable items I can use for the fight. Melee wise, of course. But we're not just stopping there. We also needed some armor, such as the Drake helmet, and then the wolf armor chest. We spent a lot of our resources on the arrows since there was only 2 of us for the fight. Unfortunately, it was just me and your dad. Days 80 to 90. After all of that preparation, we ended up traveling to the altar for the 4th boss, whilst transporting all 3 of the dragon eggs that couldn't go through a portal. But we did ended up bringing the frost resistance potions and hella fire arrows. It's okay, we ended up being pirates this time around. No harm in that.
I hate you so much.
Why? What did I do?
Why you're gonna have to carry those.
What? I can't. I don't have space.
I don't either.
You could put your stuff in the chest and then go over to motor and then come back and then grab your stuff and the egg and then come back to motor. Easy. But you're the athletic one. Tip.
I'm gonna pretend you said nothing. You said nothing.
I don't see.
Nothing came out of your mouth. Like nothing. Because I have a wooden shield. How useful would that be?
Honestly, it says you should just throw it in the water. You do not need.
That is, yeah, I figured.
We were sailing over to Motor's location. After a huge amount of our time was actually wasted even getting there, we finally landed and got jumped by great orbs. They got clapped. Duh, we're basically OP now, especially in the basic biomes. 2 wolves decided to appear out of nowhere and chase me into a building, and one of the mini dragons tried to get the better of me, but it was no match. There also ended up being another golem and a dragon, the mini ones, fighting each other with another golem protecting the boss area. It was really annoying because I had to wait for your dad to even get here without dying to some wolf or some random creature. How are you taking no damage? Are you dodging?
Don't know, barely. I hit that one front on. Are you sure it's a pickaxe?
Yeah.
Oh! I died. I did not realize. I thought it was gonna be low again. You're definitely like dirt.
Pink. I killed him.
What the?
Thanks for the help.
Yeah, no problem. You should have just done it in the first place without me having to like jump in 4 different wolves just to get to my body.
So, you know, I was like, you know what? It's her moment to shine.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't.
And every single time I would kill this golem, another one would just come into his place. So we ended up making this little pit thing that also made it so outside mobs couldn't get in. And finally, we were ready to face it head on. This was hella risky, and I knew that from the get-go. There he is.
Oh my god. Yo, he.
So, about the roof you made.
Wow. There's no place. This is the worst moat ever, my dude. Like the frost attack. Can't even see through this ice. Ah, the Drake. All I can do is run because the stone golem is right next to me.
Aggro on me. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Did I mention this thing took ages? Like, it actually took ages. We were sitting there for so long just constantly shooting this thing down with arrows.
See, there's bad angles. Ah!
If this stone golem doesn't go somewhere. Wait. It's so close to being dead. Oh.
It's dead. It's so dead. Look at it. It's like so. Yay!
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Crying. Now this stone goblin, bro.
Never again, man.
Yeah, let's just leave.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm so out.
No more.
I'm
no
done
more.
with this. And finally, it was dead. It dropped us some dragon tears, which could be used to make this thing called an artisan table. And now we can smell black metal. For you guys that don't know, it's something you could collect from the plains biome. But the thing I was most excited for was this crystal battle axe. Now, literally, I don't even know if I'm going to use this thing for actual combat, but it just looks sick. I'm sorry, but if you don't think this thing looks cool, what's wrong with you? Days 90 to 99. Finally, we were up to the last and 5th boss. We already had a fully fledged base, hella powerful armor and tools. But one of the last things we actually needed to do was kill the 5th boss. And the boss's name was Yaglith. I'm probably butchering that, but nobody asked me. Anyways, we ended up finding 3 more of these falling totems, finally, after so much exploring. But the thing that kind of pissed me off the most was because all throughout these days, we couldn't find the spawn location for the last boss. We literally had all 5 of these falling totems because we got 2 before, and now we just picked up 3. So we have 5 in total just to summon this boss. And its altar is just MIA. We even ended up preparing a bunch of healing potions. We also took the gigantic boat that we made to even like haul the eggs in the first place. We took that out just for this stupid altar. It was just plains after plains after plains, and still nothing. No luck finding Yaglith. I hate to say this, guys, but clearly he's scared of us and can't stand knowing that we're far better than him with our crystal axes. That would be the most reasonable explanation, no? What a scared creature. Day 100. Still nothing. I'm about to give up. I'm about to go to sleep at this point. I'm so exhausted. What I ended up doing is I decided your dad needed to be sacrificed. Maybe you needed a sacrifice and it'll show itself. So I decided to sacrifice her to some loxes.
Well, excuse me. Oh, I got stuck. Okay, now the herds are following me. Excuse me? Tommy. Oh, you're trying. You're trying. You're definitely trying.
Don't bring it near the base.
I don't want to be too far from it.
Well, all I can say is we got close. But look at this axe though. He's